Hey friends, I am here with Matt McWilliams. You might know him as the affiliate guy working with the best of the best in the online marketing industry, setting up affiliate programs, making ridiculous amounts of money. And Matt is launching a book in January called Turn Your Passions into Profits, and we're going to talk about it today. Thanks so much for being here.
Jan, thanks for having me, buddy.
Absolutely. Now, you have been in the online marketing space what feels like forever, and you've seen it all. It's ridiculous. Yeah,
man, it's a long time when you think about it. And I didn't even think I'd only been online for 4 years before I got into online business. Like, that's how new things were back then. Oh my gosh! Now I didn't even think about it, but that's insane.
I didn't mean to date you with that, though.
Yeah, well, imagine running a car company that started, 4 years after the invention of the automobile, and Ford. They're still around and doing well now, from what I hear. It's just weird. I'm a dinosaur.
It's ridiculous, yeah. But that's the exact reason why I'm so excited about your book that's coming out, because you've seen it all, and there are gazillions of gurus and self-proclaimed experts and passive income gurus and build your agency from 0 to 60K in 90 days and stuff like that. You've seen what works. You've set up all the campaigns that actually drove 7 figures on launch day and things like that. And now you're breaking it down in the book. And what is the foundation of all of this? What makes a business that actually turns passions into profits?
The foundation is finding that marriage between the two extremes that we typically see in business. Typically we see on the one hand, we see people who are super passionate about what they're doing. This was me, circa 2010 with my third business. I was blogging. I was waking up at 5:30 in the morning. I was super excited. I was impacting people. I had 1,000 people who followed me, who subscribed to my blog and my email list. And I was having an impact on their lives. I was getting these amazing emails saying, "Thank you so much. This changed my life," or "This saved my marriage," or "This saved my business." And I'm like, whoa. This is pretty cool. I'm having an impact on people's lives. And I was super passionate about it. And about 2 years in, I just burned out because I wasn't making any money. So I didn't have the profits. Really what I had was an expensive hobby, not a business. On the flip side, we have the people, we've all seen them, right? They're doing great financially. They're providing a wonderful income for their family. They have plenty of vacation time, because they've got the money to do it and they get to take exotic trips. But work in and of itself is miserable. They're not passionate about what they're doing. And so the thesis behind this was, can we marry those two? Can we actually have a business where we're both passionate and profitable? And so about 8 years ago, I had a vision for this book. I had a vision for kind of the mission of our company, which was to be able to help entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs, wantrepreneurs, existing entrepreneurs, 7-figure business owners, 6-figure business owners, 5-figure, 0-figure business owners, everywhere on that spectrum, to find both of those. If you're making money but you're not passionate, let's get more passionate about it. If you're passionate about something but you're not making any money, let me show you how to, be able to make money. If you don't know either, you don't know what your passion is. Step 1 of the book is clarify who you help. In other words, get clear on your passion. So we'll walk you through step by step in that. And the entire premise of the book, really the entire message of our entire company, hinges on one belief: that the world needs your message. They need messengers. The world needs messengers. The world needs your message, but it's not going to wait passively or patiently for it. The world needs your message, but it's going to move on without it, Jan. If you've got a message out there, you've got a voice, the world needs it, but it's going to move on without it. They're not going to sit around waiting for you. And there are hundreds of thousands, potentially even millions of people in the world right now who are desperately ready for you to share your message with them. And when you do, we walk you through how to actually turn that into a profitable business. So that's the whole thesis of the book, really hinges around that one belief.
And I love this so much, because especially in times like these where everything's in limbo and we have negativity all around us these days, and frankly, at least here in Germany, the gas prices and electricity are going up so much that people, if you're just employed, you can't pay the bills anymore. I've seen people whose heating costs 5x just from out of the blue. Imagine I'm paying like 350 euros per month for heating and electricity right now, and I'm expecting that to be 500 or 600 per month next year. And I'm in the comfortable situation that I have a business and I have control over my income. But if you just have you're just employed, your paycheck doesn't rise just because the bills rise that you have to pay. So you have to get creative about this. And the way you've positioned this is that building a business can be fueling your energy and can drain your energy, and therefore you can do it even if you are employed. You can do it if you have just the evenings or just the mornings with your family. Walk us through the process that you have in the book. How do we go about building that profitable business?
Yeah, I will. I want to address something you said there, though, because this is one of the steps in the book. Step 6 is called champion their cause. You know, and we all want a champion who fights for us, who stands up for us. We all want a hero, right? And you have an opportunity. If you're listening to this right now, you have an opportunity to be the hero to your audience. And the second thing, so the first thing in championing a cause is to make it clear that you understand, and we can talk about that later. But the second one is ease their fears. And prior to 2020, like I said, I've been talking about this for 8 years. Prior to 2020, the example I always used was the Great Depression. You know, at least here in the United States, and to some extent worldwide, there was a massive depression in the late 20s through mid 30s. When we are scared, it is almost unimaginable to think that anything could provide a solution for our problems, whether it be the gas prices to our heating, cost of living, whatever. That's what fear does to us. It's like I said, I used to talk about the Great Depression because we didn't have a modern day example of just abject, visceral fear. I mean, to some extent, the Cold War, but even then, when you live, when you do the drills, whether it be in West Germany back in the day or in the United States, once you've been doing the drills for 5 or 10 years, huddling under your desk, it just becomes routine. You're no longer actually genuinely afraid. Like in the 80s, when I was a kid, I wasn't afraid of the Soviet Union. It was just, it had been going on for so long. It was like, what, if they drop a nuke, whatever. I didn't know.
So be it.
But the Great Depression, COVID, that became the new example, right? COVID, like when people are fearful, they get paralyzed. So we went through this period of time with online business where everything dropped. Sales of everything dropped. We did a big launch, our biggest launch of the year. The first 3 days of the launch, we had more buyers than we had the entire launch the year before, and we were 3 days into a 10-day launch. I mean, we were like, oh my gosh, this is going to be unreal. We're going to 2.5 to 5x last year's sales. And then that day hit, the day when the world shut down, at least when the United States shut down. Everything in a matter of 36 hours went from, Corona, what is this thing called? Like, is it beer? Was a virus you get from drinking the beer? Like nobody knew what a coronavirus was outside of, epidemiologists or whatever they're called. Nobody knew. And so all of a sudden we were all fearful. So we shut down our sales. I kid you not. So day 3, we had equaled the previous year's sale. The next 7 days, we did 1/3 of what we had done in the first 3 days. Normally, sales would double or triple from there.
Of course,
sometimes
because it's urgency.
The first 3 days, and they were cut by 1/3. So as he shut down, like day 4, we had. I think it was like 400 sales the first 3 days. Day 4, we had like 3 sales. I think it was day 6, we had 0 sales. We went an entire day with 0 sales, and we're like, we don't know what to do. That's what happens. And the faster you can ease their fears, the sooner your followers will begin to feel hope that there's actually a solution to their problem. And so that's what the world's looking for right now. They're looking for people who can champion their cause, who can ease their fears, who can give that hope. Again, whether it's about, income or sickness or whatever, like this isn't just worldwide too. You have an audience. Maybe your audience is accountants. Right? Oh my gosh, seriously, accountants? How can I be a hero to accountant? How on earth is helping accountants heroic? Well, we have a client, a guy named Adam Lean, who helps his clients work less and earn more. And I'm like, you want to talk about heroic? Go ask their kids when they get to spend 10 hours more a week with mommy or daddy, if that's not heroic work. Go ask the spouse. Go ask, go ask the kid, who's going to be 30 and have a dad still around. They're going to get to meet their grandkids because they're living a healthier lifestyle. That's heroic. So your audience, it doesn't matter what they are, they have fears. Again, it's not just, COVID, it's not just, economic recession. They have fears. They have fears they're never going to lose the weight. They're never going to quit the addiction. They have fears that their marriage is never going to improve, that they're going to end up divorced in a year. Their business is going to fail. They're not going to be able to grow tomatoes in their, an urban environment. Whatever. It's like, that's not a deep, dark fear, but it's their kids aren't going to graduate from high school. Whatever. Like, these are the fears that people have. And if you can ease those fears, then you can start to build a platform around that and actually sell stuff.
How do we know which fear we can cater to, though? Like, when it comes to assessing what direction we want to go with our business, how do we find that?
It goes back to, perfect segue. Did you plan that? I don't think we did.
Of course, yep.
Like, I wasn't planning that.
We staged everything.
It goes back to step one, clarifying who you help. And one of the things, so I'll walk you through this process. So the second thing I'm going to tell you about is the ideal customer avatar, and that's where we get into answering your question, but we kind of got to go a little bit before that. So I got ahead of us with the fear thing just because you were talking about that. But we need to get clear on who we help. Get clear on our passion. There's 3 questions I want you to ask yourself. If you're not sure what your passion is, ask yourself these questions. And the first one is, what is it that people are always asking you for help with? So for me, people are always coming to me saying, hey, Matt, how do I start an affiliate program? How do I start affiliate marketing? How do I grow a list? My friend Jonathan Milligan, he had a career blog. He was talking about how to get jobs, how to do resumes. And then people came to him like, how do you start a blog? And he realized his real passion was helping people to start a blog. And then he morphed that into how to start an online platform. And similarly to me, start an online business. The second question, what is it that people tell you is really interesting about you? There's a podcast host named Dan Carlin from Hardcore History. To give you some perspective, if you go into what's now Apple Podcast or Google Podcast or Spotify, the day he releases a new episode, for 2, 3, 4 days, he's the #1 podcast on all 3 platforms. Not in his category, but on the entire platform for days. That's how big his podcast is. It's a history podcast, but he's not a historian. And that's what's people came to him and said, Dan, it's fascinating. You're here at Thanksgiving dinner. You're telling these stories about these soldiers in World War I and the life they were living and things like that. It's fascinating, Dan. And he's like, maybe I could do something professionally with this. So what's fascinating about you? Most people figure out what their passion is from those 2 questions. But if you're still not sure, ask a third question, which is basically, what did you used to struggle with, but now you enjoy success at? And the example I use in the book is my friend Alan Thomas. Alan woke up one day, weighed 302, 304 pounds. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was over 300 pounds. He had been overweight for 50 years. He had struggled with it his entire life. About a year later, he weighed 175 pounds. Wow. Now he coaches people on that. He found at the age of like 58, I think he was, maybe even 60, he found his passion finally for the first time in his life. So when we're clear on that, then we can determine, the key is really just to be intentional about this, right? You get to choose who you help. You get to choose who your audience is. If you try to serve everyone, you end up serving no one. And so from there, we develop that ideal customer avatar. So we know what our passion is. We know who our audience is. And so how do we get clear on what those fears are? We get clear on who the person is. So number 1, we start with a name. My avatar's name, for instance, is Pete. Half my audience is female, but I named him Pete. And I always put it in all caps. I write about why I do that in the book. Won't get into that. But the big reason is so it stands out to me. Then we list their aspirations and their values. What are their values? They value time off. They value a clean diet. They value, time with their family. They value hard work. It doesn't matter what their values are, but what are their values? What are their aspirations? They aspire to take 4 weeks off a year. They aspire to make twice as much money. They aspire to be able to grow their own vegetables. They aspire to, be able to take off at 5 p.m. every day. Whatever their aspirations are, you write those down and you list those. Then we go to their pain points. So these pain points are their fears, right? These are those deep-seated pains. These are the real pains that are hidden underneath the more obvious, visible pains, Jan. This is the fear, the pain associated with, say, somebody who wants to quit smoking. their fear is not that, they're going to spend $10 a day and waste $10 a day. I mean, most people can make do with wasting $5 or $10 a day. We waste it on other stuff. Their pain is, and their fear is not that they're addicted and they feel guilty about being addicted. Their fear is they're not going to live more than 10 more years. They're 47. They're going to be dead in 10 years. They are not going to see their grandkids. Their fear is that they're going to not walk this is what Alan Thomas said. His fear when he was 300 pounds was, I'm going to be the first, husband to Angie and a different man is going to walk my daughter down the aisle. That's
wow.
Fear. That's fear.
My daughter is too, but it gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, and if you think about it, like again, because he was in life insurance, he said, "I've never seen a 70-year-old man weigh 300 pounds. I'd never seen somebody who was obese live more than about 10." He sold life insurance policies specifically to men over 50, and he said, "I'd never seen one of them make it more than 10 years." And so he was going, "That's that fear." The fear was not, "Oh, my pants aren't going to fit." That's an embarrassment. Yeah, it bugged him when he got on an airplane and people judged him, but that wasn't the fear. So you get into that deep-seated fear, right? So just to continue with the ideal customer avatar, we then list their info sources and we describe them demographically, right? So, their age and stuff. But those fears, if this all ties back, if you know those fears, those pain points, then we fast forward to step 2. When we commit to lead, we know how to lead them. We know how to capture their attention. Step 3, we know how to convert them into, subscribers in step 4. We can talk about that. But one of the things in step 4 is like, you have to solve that pain. When you create a lead magnet, for example, step 1, know their pain. Step 2, solve the pain. That's it. That's the whole process, basically, in a nutshell. But it starts with step 1. You got to know that pain and you got to know that fear.
That is so powerful. And that is where most people, I think, take the easy way out. Like when it comes to building online business, we see how easy it is to build websites these days. You can set up a page on Card for like $19 a year, and you get started within an hour. You've got this beautiful template, put a picture of yourself up, write some copy, and then you're good. But that's the easy way. That's the easy work. The hard work, as you've just pointed out, is getting into the minds of your customers. Like, how can you serve them and what triggers them to take action? I love that you dove into that so much.
Yeah. And there's a quote in the book that it's one of the few quotes I actually remember, but, that getting noticed has never been easier. We have this thing right here. I call it the magic rectangle, right? The smartphone.
I call it my dictator.
Yeah, this thing right here has more computing power than the entire United States military had 20 years ago. In your pocket, like we have people of various incomes, backgrounds, socioeconomic, racial makeups, professions, and they have more computing power. I mean, who am I to have more computing power than the United States military 20 years ago? That's in my pocket. I carry it around with me. And then what do I do on it? I get on Twitter and send some emails and check Slack messages and text with people. Like, that's insane. This thing records in 4K at 60 frames per second. It records at a better quality of video than Hollywood was using 12 or 15 years ago. You would watch movies on the big screen, on the, what is that thing, like 60 feet wide? And the quality of that video, you can do it from your pocket. All right. So getting noticed is easier than ever, but standing out is harder than ever. That's what step 3 is all about. Capturing attention, standing out, right? Getting attention. And so, yeah, I mean, to your point there, like anybody can get noticed. Anybody getting 20, 30, 50 followers, easier than it has ever been. It used to, think about 2,000 years ago. You lived even 500 years ago, 400 years ago, 300 years ago, 200 years ago. If you lived 10 miles outside of Rome 2,000 years ago, nobody would ever know who you are.
Yeah.
You lived outside of, think about the founding fathers in the United States. All of them, almost all of them lived in or right near a major city back then. Nobody knew who the farmers out in, Western Massachusetts were. You think about all of these things over history. It's only really in the, really in the past 20 years that you could be a completely obscure person with no connections and and no money even, and make a name for yourself. So it's easier to ever get noticed, but of course the byproduct of that is it's harder to stand out. So you've got to tap in to the actual ways that you can stand out.
Yeah. So let's say we have an idea of what we are passionate about. We know who the ideal customer is. We know what we need to talk about to them because we understand their desires and their pain points. How do we make money from that knowledge?
Yeah. So follow all the steps, and it just happens now.
Buy the book, that's it.
yeah, the interview done. No, like I said, there's a process. So the step 2 is you got to commit to leading, and we can come back to that if you want. We have to capture that attention, convert them into subscribers. That's the key. I sort of touched on it there, like capturing attention, right? Standing out, right? We stand out with things like our style and our personality, our experience, our background, our method, and I go really in depth into those in the book. Then we need to actually convert them into subscribers. So that's kind of the bridge one there, Jan. Like, we're not going to be able to just fast forward to, I know who I want to serve, I'm going to make money. We have to convert them into subscribers. And today, for the last 20 years and for the next 20 plus, it is build your freaking email list. All right. Yes, have a social media following, that's great. We've done the research though in affiliate launches. We have found that a social media follower financially is worth roughly 1/40th as much as an email subscriber. So to put that into perspective, if I can do the math right, 10,000 social media followers versus 300 email subscribers, I will take the 300 email subscribers every day of the week.
Yeah.
And so you have to build that list because, number one, you own it. You're not renting it from Facebook. Like, I had my LinkedIn account shut down this year. I'd had a LinkedIn account since 2006. I did nothing wrong. To this day, they have not explained. All they said was I violated the terms. I don't even do anything. I literally, once a week, log in and say, hey, respond to a couple private messages. I didn't do anything else. Literally nothing. They shut down my account. I had 4,000 or 5,000 connections on LinkedIn. And, granted, in my case, I didn't lose much because I wasn't doing anything with them anyway. But imagine, they can just shut down.
I had a friend of mine get his Facebook ad account shut down. He spent $1 billion. Oh,
my gosh.
And they shut down the account.
Yeah. I mean, they don't care about you. And you're
right.
renting space from them. You're renting connections. So that's number one. Obviously, the deeper connection, it's a more intimate form of communication than social media. More people see it. Open rates, our open rates are about 23 to 24% on average. Industry average is 18, 19, 20%. That is still 10x of the engagement rates with social media posts. Yep. So, 10 times higher. The other thing is, in a given, I'll go to my email right now, and I get a ton of email that I don't even process. But in my folder, granted, I know I've gotten more emails today. I have one email from today. So I have one email. If I go to Facebook and start scrolling, I can scroll through 300 posts. So the engagement rate with email is substantially higher. You can segment your messaging and things like that as well. So we've got to build that email list. And we can talk more about that with lead magnets and things like that. But then, so I built the list. I've got an engaged audience. Now I want to build a community. Step 5 is all about convening and cultivating community. Then I want to fast forward to step 6, which is all about, championing their cause. And I talked a little bit about that earlier. We gotta be that hero, right? Then we build raving fans. Once we built raving fans, we have people, Ken Blanchard and Sheldon Bowles from the book Raving Fans. They say something along the lines of people who are going to shout from the rooftops just how good you are. They wouldn't even think of taking their business elsewhere. That's the kind of fans that we want. Then we have to condition them, Jan. And this is that step. Most of us understand we've got to convert them into subscribers, right? We need to get them on our email list. Yeah, we need to champion their cause. Yeah, we need to create raving fans. We need to build a community. But the step that people miss from build audience, nurture audience, build raving fans, right, to make money is conditioning their audience. And here's the thing. I will never forget this quote as long as I live. My friend Mark Sieverkrop, who used to work for us, he said it on a live event one day. One way or another, you are conditioning your audience. The question is, what are you conditioning them to do? So if you're conditioning them to expect free content, never ask for anything, they are conditioned for that. If you go 3 months and you've conditioned them to expect free content and then you try to sell them something, they will revolt. They will be upset. It's mind-blowing to me. Like, I run a business. I'm going to sell stuff. If I walk into Walmart, I expect to buy something, So they get upset. But whose fault is that? It's yours, because you condition them to expect that. And so that's that important part that we can dig in maybe here on, because people forget about conditioning their audience. They're not setting them up for what to expect.
I would love to, because for the longest time, I've been in business since 2013 with this stuff, and for the longest time I was afraid to sell because nobody told me how to sell. They don't teach you in school. My parents didn't tell me because they aren't entrepreneurs. Like, just getting over that mental barrier of asking somebody to give you their hard-earned money is difficult for many people.
Yeah. And this, I'm getting a bit of ahead of myself, but this is what Step 9 is all about. And I talk about affiliate marketing, and one of the benefits to affiliate marketing is that it bridges the gap between having nothing to sell and selling nothing at all. Because when we're starting out, we don't know what our audience wants. So we can come back to that, but this conditioning your audience. So I did a study of more than 100 entrepreneurs, online entrepreneurs, people who send a lot of email, people you've heard of, some people you haven't. But these are top marketers. These are people running high 6-figure into 7-figure online businesses. I wanted to see what they did. 96% of them in their emails had click as the CTA, so the call to action. The call to action was click here to do something. 3% was reply, and 1% had no call to action. So only 1 out of 100 emails, if they send 200 emails a year, that meant 2 emails a year, didn't have a call to action of either click or reply. Almost all of them. If you send 365 emails a year, I don't know what 96% of that is, but I'll go with 340. 340 of those emails, roughly, a call to action was click here to read, buy, learn more, watch, listen, that kind of stuff. And so when you look at what they're doing, how do we condition our audience to click? The first thing is, don't send your content in the email itself. Don't just 99% of the time, don't send the content in the email itself. This is a big mistake I see people make. It's like, oh, if you subscribe to my email list, I'll send you my daily post. Well, then I have no incentive to go to your website.
Yeah.
So now when you send me an email and say, click here to buy or learn more, I'm not conditioned to click. I always get everything I want from your email. The second thing is you have to format your regular emails. So this is the email saying I released a new podcast episode, I wrote a blog post, etc. I shot a new video. You have to format that, and your promo email is the same. A lot of people, I can open the email and I can tell the difference between a regular email and a promotional email, and my radar is up. Like my spidey sense goes nuts. I'm like, this is just going to be a sales pitch. So for me, and there's an image in the book that I put to make it really easy to remember. It's very simple. I go story, lesson, apply to the reader, call to action. So I tell the story like, hey, my family and I the other day, we were at Universal Studios and we saw this, I had the app pulled up, and on the app, every time I got to a ride that had more than a 30-minute wait, they would pitch me the fast pass thing where you can skip the line. And I'm like, oh, the lesson that I learned is you find the opportunity when your product makes the most sense, and that's when you sell it to people. And then apply to the reader. Usually what I say is, here's what that means for you. Here's what that means for you. I love it. Call to action. Go read this blog post. Or call to action. Buy my product. Call to action. Go watch the video. Whatever it is. So as long as the format's the same, they can't tell the difference. We also write about like using a clear call to action. Click here. Click the link below. Register now. Listen here. Like, don't leave anything to chance. We always have a minimum of 2 call to action links, usually 3, not different links, but the same, basically the link that's going the same place. We word it a little bit differently, but we give them at least two opportunities to click on a link to go do what we want them to do. The 5th thing is focus on the benefits. Your email copy, your social media posts should focus on the benefits. Make them abundantly clear. Don't leave them to be implied. These 7 tips will transform your marriage almost overnight. Click here to, get the 7 tips, right? Click here to get the free ebook. It'll show you exactly how to get rid of unwanted belly fat, or get rid of your slice in golf, or cook the perfect pizza, once and for good, right? So make it clear. And I share a bunch of those examples in the book as well, like how to get very clear on that call to action. 6, you got to use your PS well. This is something I know Jan, because you're in this world. But in email marketing, the PS restates the offer. It's not like, usually we write a letter like, hey, college is going great, mom and dad, and I'm really loving my classes. PS, so-and-so says hi, and they miss you. That's additional information in the PS. We don't do additional information in the PS. We restate the offer.
It serves as a too long didn't read type of thing, where people just scroll through the email and they want to get the gist of it.
Exactly, and it's another call to action as well. Yeah. And then the last thing is, you've got to segment your email. So email marketing is getting more and more personalized. So what topics are they most interested in? Like, specific topics within your larger brand, right? What stage are they at? Are they beginner, intermediate, or advanced? What are their demographics? Like, if you've got an offer that's mostly for males, then only send it to males. Are they old or young? Do they have kids, no kids, married, et cetera, right? Their buying history. Some things you may only want to present. Like, we have an offer that's a $10,000 offer. I am not going to present that to people who've never bought anything, overwhelmingly so. I might send like 1 email a year where we talk about that. This offer is specifically for people who bought something else. So those are the ways that you condition your audience. You've got to condition them to know what to expect. And that's what then leads to your ability to actually start to monetize.
I love it, because you've very clearly highlighted the complexity, but also the power that goes into email marketing. And I'm just working on a course about segmenting, because that's what I do right now with my own email list. And I see so many people, they say, okay, you fire up a MailChimp or a ConvertKit account, you hook up your opt-in forms, set up that onboarding sequence, and then you just send emails. And that's wasting money. As you said, you can't put every offer in front of every single person. You can't speak to people the same way. Like when the Queen died in the UK this year, you had to be very, very careful what you sent to people from the UK, because they were all in grief, and you couldn't promote to them in that situation. The entire country shut down.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, you have to know, again, if you know that information, then you're able to segment that. But again, the key there is just to set the expectation. Yeah. When you're first starting your platform, maybe you don't have anything to sell. Most of us don't. I didn't have a product to sell for 3.5 years after I started my blog, because I didn't know what my audience wanted, so I just didn't create anything, And the other alternative, I talked about this in the book, is like, the other alternative is you create something and nobody wants it. Option 1, create nothing. Option 2, create a product and nobody, wants it. And like I said, affiliate marketing bridges that gap between having nothing to sell and selling nothing at all. And so it allows us to get into, okay, I'm going to make some affiliate offers to my audience. I'm going to promote some stuff. And let's say I've got 1,000 people on my list, and 5 of them are going to buy. But the other 995 now know, hey, Jan's going to occasionally send me an offer before I even have anything. So this is the cool thing, is it sets you up. Like, I don't talk in the book about, and even as the affiliate guy, as somebody whose entire business really hinges on, teaching people how to do affiliate marketing and building affiliate programs, I don't think that 100% of your revenue should come from affiliate marketing, not long term. I think it should play a part. For us, it's about 40%. I mean, this is my business, and only 40% of our revenue comes from affiliate marketing. But 40%, that 40% allows, it's like a playground. I get to experiment with different things. But there was a time when 100% of my revenue The first 2 years that I started monetizing my blog, I made $134,000 over those 2 years. It was $134,000 out of $134,000 was from affiliate marketing. But then when I launched my own product, year 3 of that, right, the next year, I already knew how to develop a promo plan. I already knew how to market it. I already knew what subject lines would work. I already knew some of the marketing skills. I already knew kind of how to format the launch because I'd done it promoting other people. And so this allowed me to go into that process so much easier. So when I did my first launch, it wasn't huge, but we did like a $45,000 launch. And so much of that was because I'd already practiced for years promoting other people's products. But again, my other option would have been, hey, I'll go create this course. I don't even know if anybody wants to buy it. And I don't know how to market it. And I'm totally new to this whole process. And I'm nervous about it. And I'm probably it's going to be a total flop. But instead, I went into it knowing all that stuff that I'd gained from promoting affiliate offers. But the biggest difference was by the time I promoted my course, I'd already promoted 20 other things to my audience. So there was an expectation. Nobody was mad at me for promoting my course because there was an expectation that there was going to be a financial transaction at some point.
I love this. This is powerful. And for me, affiliate marketing is about 26 to 30% of my income.
Yeah.
And essentially, what you could see it as is that covers the bills, that keeps the lights on, and then everything you add on top is profit and gives security and gives you the luxury that you want. And what I love about this is, as I'm mapping out my own sequences right now, I've identified 4 areas how I want to segment my list in the long run. Because let's face it, lists evolve, our businesses evolve, we evolve as humans, and therefore we change what we do in business. And to cater to all of that, I would have to create maybe 10, maybe 15 products so that I have multiple upsells and downsells for each of those areas. I have 2 right now, and the rest is affiliate. And that's how you can make money from this in the long run.
Yeah. I mean, it's a powerful thing. I mean, so chapter 9, not surprisingly, commit to monetize. Step 9 is the longest in the book because I go deep into affiliate marketing. I talk about the right time to start monetizing, some of the myths around affiliate marketing. I shared one reason just now why you need to start before you have a product. I shared 9 others, so 10 total reasons. Talk about how to start affiliate marketing, how to get accepted into programs, how to kind of take it to the next level. You mentioned selling earlier. I talk about why people buy and what to do if you think you suck at selling. And then I have a whole masterclass in there about copywriting, visualization exercise to get in the right mindset. So, I mean, there's like, every chapter is great, but this one is like it's just the longest and most in-depth because, again, that's, the goal is everything else before step 8, which is all about the conditioning your audience, is, setting that stage, right? Setting the framework. Then we start to get into the real nitty gritty. So think of it as kind of 2 parts to the book. Yeah, there's 10 steps, but it's kind of like steps 1 through 7 are part 1, and then steps 8 through 10 are part 2.
We've got about 10 minutes roughly. I would love to dive a little bit into the mindset. Let's get people fired up because what we've spoken about so far, if somebody has no experience in online marketing, can be quite overwhelming. And it's really hard to stay focused with all these shiny objects being thrown at you on Twitter and Facebook and so on. What's a good mindset hack? What's a healthy set of frameworks that we can operate by to build a successful online business?
I think the most important mindset shift, if we're talking just pure mindset, I covered in step 2, which is called commit to lead. And there's a lot of misconceptions around leadership. What leadership is. I'm going to pull it up here, see if I can find it. But I don't know if you knew this, but you're actually in the book.
Really?
Yeah. Here, I actually had it pulled up to be able to share it. I'm going to, don't let me forget. I want to share the part. Don't let me forget, okay? I want to share the part that you're in the book before we finish up here. So let me find this quote, though, in the book here. You don't need a title to be a leader. It's attributed to multiple people. This is my favorite one. 3 words from John Maxwell, he's authored more than 70 leadership books. We're talking, think about 70 books about leadership, and it can be summed up in 3 words. Leadership is influence. Leadership is influence. And so I talk about in the book, like, leadership is not easy. It's it can be downright scary. People can feel inadequate. They think it's hard. They think it's overwhelming. But the reality is, like, all of those responses are perfectly understandable. They're normal. But the problem is they're focused on the leader. We're focused on ourselves, not our avatar. That's the beauty of creating the avatar. I mentioned that I said I don't have time to get into it, but the reason why I put him in all caps, why I put my avatar's name in all caps, is if I've got a report from my team talking about a marketing campaign and I'm reading through it, I always write the word Pete in all caps because it's a subtle reminder to me who's most important on this page. What's most important? It's not the Facebook ads. It's not this thing. It's not this fancy email technique we're going to use. The most important thing is my avatar. And so, yeah, it can be scary. It can be overwhelming. We can be, feel inadequate. But leadership, like parenting, like marriage, like any relationship, all it requires is a willful commitment. It just requires you to wake up every day and choose to commit to being a leader. Leadership, it's a choice. Leadership is a choice. And you have to remember, your followers need you to lead them. Somebody out there right now needs you to lead them. In fact, there are potentially millions of people right now waiting for you to guide them. They're waiting for you to reach out, grab their hand, and show them where to go. I write about this lady. I forget what chapter it's in. For life of me, I can't remember. And so I've heard more of her story. So I finished the manuscript over 18 months ago. And I've heard more of her story since so this part of this is not in the book. So I write about this lady that I was talking to one day, and she has 2 autistic children, and she wanted to start a platform around autism. And she's like, man, I can't do this. Like, I don't have the letters behind my name. I'm not a doctor. There's all these people at Harvard and Yale and Princeton and Cambridge. All these people, they're the experts, right? They've got the books. They've got the TED Talks. They've got the research papers and all the fancy titles. I don't have any of that. I don't know what made me say this. I said, can I ask you a question? She said, yeah. And I said, you ever felt like killing your children? She said, every day. And I don't mean like she's actually thought through ways to drown her children or, like, that's not what I mean. But anybody with parents knows that sometimes you're just like, ah.
Yeah.
Like, why did I saw a meme the other day that said, said something like, parents, rather than have a lovely Saturday afternoon together as a couple, let's have children so that our Saturday can be chaos because we forgot to put a uniform in a dryer. Like, it's so true. Like with 2 kids that play soccer, oh my gosh, children, can you just remember to put your clothes in the wash? Your soccer socks do not go in the half bath downstairs. Your soccer cleats do not go on the front porch. And I mean, like, and no, I don't want to kill them clearly, but I said, and she said every day, I said, then talk about that. Talk about that. Fast forward. This part's not in the book because it happened after the manuscript was done. She has over 10,000 YouTube subscribers now. She's making almost 6 figures from her platform, just talking about how to get through life with autistic children. She has 2 autistic children. And she did a video about how to travel with autistic children. The thing I didn't know is that parents of autistic children, it's one of their worst nightmares. They're afraid they're going to get on the plane and everybody's going to look at them and then they're going to judge because their kid's going to do something and they're going to get asked to get off and it's going to be so embarrassing. And so their tension rises up in them and then that tension manifests itself on the kid. So it becomes a vicious cycle. And she recorded a video talking about how she peacefully has flown for years with her 2 autistic children. And a lady left a comment and said, we haven't left our hometown in 4 or 5 years. I've been afraid to fly. I've been afraid to stay in a hotel. I've been afraid to go anywhere because my child acts out. Your video gave me hope. I scheduled a flight. And like,
it's true leadership.
No letters behind her name, no credentials, no fancy title. That's all that leadership is. The example I write in the book is like, imagine you're on a hike and you're on this hike with like the super fit friend. And I've got to pick, every time I tell the story, I've got a place in mind because I went on a hike. It's a very dangerous hike. It's one of those places you take 2 steps to the right, you will fall to your death. As long as you stay on the trail, though, you're safe. And you're on this hike with this super fit friend, like he's been fit for 25 years. He always jogs in place for no reason, wears bike shorts to a cookout inexplicably, always smells like soup mix, that kind of friend, right? And you're on this hike with him, and he's 2 miles up ahead, and he's yelling at you, "Hey, hurry up! And watch out for the what? You're 2 miles up ahead." We think that's where we have to be leaders. But a better place to lead from, Jan, a better place to lead from is one step ahead. That same fit friend, the same one wearing the bike shorts, smells like soup mix, he reaches back, grabs my hand, says, "Hey, watch out. It's slippery right here." That's leadership. That's all leadership is. That's all we have to be. We don't have to be 2 miles ahead of our audience. Eventually you will be. I'm now a couple miles ahead of my audience. But I wasn't when I started. And the key was I started. I started talking about this stuff when I was a nobody, and people were like, "Oh, that's kind of interesting." And they came. And then eventually now, 8 years later, yeah, I'm a little bit farther ahead, but we don't have to be there. So stop comparing yourself to others. Stop comparing yourself to others. Take advantage of your disadvantage. Embrace those fears. Like, these are all things we talk about in the leadership section. Like, so key, right? Like one of the quotes in there from Stephen Furtick, the reason we struggle with insecurity is we compare our behind the scenes with other people's highlight reels. Yeah. Newsflash, you are not seeing people's behind the scenes on social media. Even the kids, like, nobody posts on social media and says, "Here's my kid right after he pooped in the living room." They put, "Here's my darling on, going to kindergarten for the first time and he's all dressed up." Yeah, you didn't post the picture of him when he wore the same underwear 3 straight days, did you? You didn't post the picture of him when he was running around naked, unless they're like 9 months old, then it's cute. You didn't post that picture. You didn't post the picture where your son, fell in the creek and, cracked his head open, because that would make you a bad parent for having your kid in a creek by himself. We don't post that stuff. So you're behind the scenes, your struggles, those things that we've all been there, right? We're beating our head against the wall because a plugin doesn't work on WordPress. How are we ever going to get this checkout page to work? Or the link doesn't work, the banner doesn't line up, the font's off. You think, "Oh, that guy's not struggling. Jan doesn't struggle with that. Matt doesn't struggle with that." You know what? I don't now. I don't. Because I've been doing this for 20 years. I have a team who takes care of that stuff. And yet today, even just today, we still had a typo in an email. And somebody commented on it. Because apparently they're the typo police. We had a typo in an email. We send 340 emails a year. We're probably going to have one with a typo.
Yep.
And so, but we still have them. Did I have a lot more 10 years ago? You bet, than I do now. I had a lot more. But stop comparing yourself and just be a leader who's one step ahead.
I love it. And now, what's my part in the book? You got me really curious now. We've got 2 minutes.
Let me pull this up here. I had this all ready. So let's see. There we are. 232 pages, 232 to 234. So step 10 is all about creating consistent content. All right. So I don't have time to get into like the whole thing. Let me find this here. I share our ICE framework, idea. So the generating concepts for potential content, the creation, right? The actually producing the content, and then the engagement, which is the most important part. And I share some strategies, but in the very beginning of the chapter, I talk about just different people who do different, content different ways, just to show like there's no perfect way to do it. And here are some people who do it a certain way, just to give you some ideas. So I talk about Mike and Kristen Berry, how they have the way they do their podcast. I talk about Brenda Sturr's social media strategy. I say, Jan Koch from Virtual Summit Mastery said that he had been, quote, inconsistent with email marketing for years before developing a unique strategy. He now sends daily, Monday through Friday emails to his subscribers. In an email to me describing his strategy and how he does it, he wrote, and I'm just going to read straight from the book here. This is what you wrote me. I take notes of what I'm doing or learning every day. I created a list where I can easily keep track of interesting topics. I had conversations about marketing strategies I saw online, questions I've received from my groups, and anything interesting to my audience. From those notes, it takes me around 1 hour every week to write 5 email newsletters. I'm taking out the problem of not knowing what to write about with this process, which was my main pain point for years. Each week, I send 4 emails focused on either an exciting story of free education for my readers, The 5th email would then promote a product of mine or an affiliate product. Hey, what did we just talk about?
Woohoo!
By keeping the email short and concise, I train my subscribers that reading my emails does not take much time. There we go. Condition. We talked about conditioning. I train my subscribers is what you said. Okay, finishing your quote here. Most of the time, I do not give away the full story in my emails, but instead include links, okay, oh my gosh, to articles or webinar replays, which also train my audience to click on links. I've seen open rate, response rate, and click-through rate go up after sending emails daily from Monday to Friday. Real quick, to finish what I write in the book there, the important lesson is not which strategy you choose, because I listed 3 different ones, but that you have a strategy and consistency. It could be daily like Jan, weekly like Mike, or in between like Brenda and me. At a minimum, though, you should release at least one new piece of content each week at a consistent day and time. And so, yeah, that's your part in the book there.
I'm humble. Thank you.
I go on just a little bit further in the book and talk just a brief thing where I refer back to that. Then obviously you're in the acknowledgments because I thank you there, and then you're in the end. So you're in 4 places in the book.
Wow.
So, yeah,
I'm just growing by like 3 centimeters right now.
I promise I did not read that before we went live. I just had it pulled up, just sitting there ready to go, and I did not read it. But like it ties in exactly what we talked about, right? Conditioning your audience and the different things with the email and having the strategy. And part of that is like, again, that mindset. You're a leader. You don't have to be 10 steps ahead of your audience, but you're a leader who's committed to sending emails 5 days a week with the belief that your audience wants to receive those. And so that it tied in exactly what we were talking about in today.
I'm humbled. Now, you've obviously got the book in the background, Turn Your Passions into Profits, and it is on Amazon and all those big stores, but you also have a bonus campaign coming up for everybody who's pre-ordering. So tell us a little bit about those before we wrap up. Yeah,
if you go to passionsintoprofitsbook.com/Jan. So just for those of you who can't spell German, Jan. All right, so there's some special stuff there for you. passionsintoprofitsbook.com/Jan, Jan. We've got so many, almost $1,000 in special bonuses if you get it in time. Even if you're listening to this into the future, there's still going to be a lot of those there just for your listeners, Jan. So these aren't going to be public. If you take off the Jan and go there after a certain period, all these things are going to be gone. But it'll have links to buy, and then you come back and enter your order information, and you get almost $1,000 in pre-order bonuses. We talked about the ideal customer avatar earlier. I go in depth in the book, and then I go on steroids in a course. So you actually get access to that course. You're going to get access to an exclusive training. We've got an email marketing masterclass. We got a bunch of lessons in there. Oh my gosh, I forget half the stuff. Depending upon when you order, if you order in time, you get access to our No List, No Problem course, which talks about how to make money online, even if you don't have a list. Just tons of stuff on there. These pre-order bonuses and like I said, special bonuses for your podcast listeners. So passionsintoprofitsbook.com/Jan.
Appreciate it. Friends, go there, grab the book. I can't recommend it highly enough. I can't recommend following Matt highly enough because you learn a lot just from his Facebook posts, frankly. And then everything he has on the blog and on the book and in his products is insanely good. Matt, thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview with us.
Hey, thanks for having me on.